Welcome. I'm Colleen Tuckey and I'm a sewing specialist here at Fons & Porter. In this Quilting Quickly tutorial, I'm going to show you how to put together the blocks in the quilt called Friends United. If you'd like to purchase this pattern, please visit our website. We're going to be using 5-inch pre-cut squares of kind of traditional red, white, and blues. It's kind of a cream instead of a white. And then we're going to pair it up with a light background, as you can see, and create those friendship stars in a really fun way. So this is the block that we're going to be creating, and we're going to put some spacers in there with these so that the stars kind of go in a diagonal across the quilt. But what we're going to be doing is cutting background squares in 5-inch also that we can pair up with the prints that we want to use for our star points. And so then we're going to put them right sides together, take it to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew a 1/4-inch seam all the way around the outside edge. So I have one that's already done. And once you have gotten all the way around the outside, then it's a simple cutting process. And what we're trying to make is the 4 points all at once. So we can take a ruler that's long enough to fit across our block. And it's really important that when you were matching those two up, that you keep them aligned perfectly on the outside edge so that when we cut them apart, we will accurately be able to get a nice clean angle as we open these up. So then we cut diagonally both directions, like that. And then when we open this up, we'll have triangle squares, just like the ones you see there in our finished block. Now, the one thing about doing this process is that you have to be careful because you're going to have a lot of bias edges when you're done. So what you need to do is very carefully go in and press your seam allowances toward the darker fabric. And do that with all 4 of the pieces. Once you kind of warm up that ironing board, you can kind of lap one over the top of the other, and the ironing board will help do some of the work for you. So I just lay the next one in like this, press, grab the last one, and there we go. We have all 4 of them pressed. Now they need to be trimmed up because of those outer edges being bias, they're going to stretch just a little bit, and we want to have really accurate piecing when we put this together. And so we can take the Fons & Porter Square Up ruler. It has a repositionable triangle on the back, and it just sticks to the back of our ruler. It's a little bit tacky on one side, and I've lined it up with the 45-degree angle on the tool itself, and I can slide that in right up against that diagonal seam, and then I can cut an exact 3-inch square out of this piece. So do 2 sides, lift the tool, turn the block end for end, and reposition this so we get 3-inch perfectly there. Always position your tool so it butts up against that seam. It locks in place nicely. It even slides right along there. And you're just trimming a little bit off, but if there's any stretch that has occurred when you were pressing, now you have a perfect 3-inch block. Once you've trimmed all of those, you're going to position so that you're going to follow your instructions for the number of stars you need to make. The other thing is that the way you put the star points into your block will determine the twist of your stars. Kind of like in a windmill, they can twist to the left or twist to the right. So you want to double check to make sure that you have them all turning in the same direction. It doesn't make a difference if if they all go left or all go right, but you want them all going the same direction usually. It's a little more pleasing arrangement for the eye. The other thing to test when you're laying these out is that your diagonals are parallel. That means that you have those positioned properly and don't have one like this. So double check before you put this together. The reason why I'm telling you that tip is because when I was putting this block together, I did one wrong. So save yourself some time and some headache and having to rip anything out, and double check those diagonals to make sure that you get parallel edges here and parallel edges here. Now it's the simple joining of rows. So row 1, row 2, after they're all trimmed, and row 3. Then join your rows together and you have your friendship star block. Now the next thing that I need to show you is how that stair-step effect happens in your quilt top. And it's all about a spacer block that's used. We'll say this is the top corner of our block, or our quilt. And there's just a little bit of a stair step that happens, and those come into play with the background rectangles that we have you cut. In the second column, because this isn't put together horizontal rows, it's vertical rows, you will have spacers. A small rectangle like this, a larger rectangle in row 2, well actually row 3, because 1, 2, 3, and then even a longer one yet. As your blocks step down through the quilt, you would have rows of stars underneath that. The same kind of step happens along the bottom of your quilt. So follow our diagrams and you'll have no problem putting your Quilt Friends United together. If you'd like to see more of our Quilting Quickly tutorials, please visit our website. Thanks for joining me today.